the band returns home to Sayreville.
They worked their asses off, but they weren't making money yet. Jon wasn't thrilled with it and despairing that they weren't getting to where they needed to be. But I think Jon is just an unusually driven person. The way I look at it is, if you look at what happened, they got farther than most bands do at that point. But at the time, when you're a driven person, it's hard to see that.
Jon Bon Jovi knows he needs to up his game if he's gonna make it. So he starts to record a second album, but he's feeling the pressure. This album needs to be much more successful than the first.
You take your career to the first album, then you have to follow it up with songs that you have to write fairly quickly.
They were recording the second album, they were living together in an apartment that wasn't the swankiest, shall we say, you know, and I think a couple of the guys were still living at home, wasn't glamorous.
On March 27th, 1985, Bon Jovi's second album, 7800 Degrees Fahrenheit, is released.
It was a moderate success, but not the success that we wanted. So it was a bit of a slump.
Even though Jon produces a glossy accompanying video, the lead single, Only Lonely, doesn't resonate with the audience.
The songs weren't that great, and the band was a little tired, and it didn't really work the way that we all hoped it would.
The album peaks at a disappointing 37 on the Billboard charts.
There's no real liftoff for them yet, and it's kind of a question of, are they just going to tread water at this level, or what, if anything, is going to take them to the next level?
Jon takes it personally. He needs to find a way to make his band successful. To try to boost flagging sales of their second album, Bon Jovi heads out on another 8-month tour, the first as headliners. But things are not exactly turning out the way Jon hoped.
You're there with your ears ringing, up at 4 in the morning, in a strange, yucky hotel room, missing your family, and they're not really making a ton of money, and it's this kind of moment where he's thinking, is that all there is?
Despite Jon's canny business sense, drive, and ambition, Bon Jovi Inc. is still not really turning a profit. Neither is it giving him the success and momentum that he had hoped for. January 1986. Bon Jovi has produced 2 albums and toured for 18 months, but has only achieved moderate success. Frontman Jon Bon Jovi's relentless determination to make it to the top has so far left him exhausted and penniless.
They did a third album that just did the same numbers as the first couple records. Where were they going to go? And would the label prioritize them if they hadn't shifted? So they went for it. And Jon's always been like that. He just goes for it. And I think in a way it was kind of like a last stand.
Jon and guitarist Richie Sambora are the band's main songwriters. Still working together in Richie's mom's cold, damp basement. In these surroundings, Jon and Richie are struggling to write a hit that will make them megastars.
Songwriting doesn't just pop out of you, right? I don't think it did for Jon. It was more of a developing craft.
But Jon's no-nonsense business-like approach means he's able to think strategically. He sees an obstacle and plots a way around it.
Jon was very pragmatic about his wanting and needing to be big. Jon said, look, this is a time when we've got to make the right record. I said to Jon, what do you think about getting a co-writer? He said, look, if it makes it better, if it's going to make my career go further, let's find someone. He put aside an ego for the potential success.
Jon will do whatever is needed to achieve his goals. So legendary songwriter Desmond Child is called on to collaborate with him. Desmond has already written a number of hits for Kiss and Alice Cooper. It's a calculated move.
He has his focus on the goal of the band being successful. Look, if I want a hit song, I got to go to the guy or girl, whoever's going to write this hit song, and collaborate with them. So he's smart.
They were dedicated to writing songs that would become big, big hits. Desmond was the glue, if you like, that allowed Jon Bon Jovi and the band Bon Jovi to become as big as they did.
That was the last piece of the puzzle. That songwriting thing was integral, was essential for them to get to the next level.
By late spring 1986, John, Richie, and Desmond Child have written enough material to record a new Bon Jovi album. They head to Vancouver, Canada for a final throw of the dice.
John said to me, I think we've written a classic. We took those songs into the studio and refined those songs into a career-defining record. We just knew that this was it. And this is what we were looking for. This is what John was looking for. This is what the band wanted to do.
Their time recording in Canada is also an opportunity for the newly single John to let his hair down.
They're working hard in the studio, but they're going to strip clubs at night. They probably invite some of the ladies from the clubs that they're at to hang out with them. They're living it up. John is still tight-lipped about a lot of things that went on during that period. And in a way, that's that old school rocker mystique. And that makes people more interested in you because they don't know. They want to know what you're not telling them.
Eventually, the songs are recorded, and John needs a name for the new album. In Vancouver, he sees a road sign saying "Slippery When Wet," and it reminds him of their wild nights out.
We used to go to the strip club up there in Vancouver, and the girls used to go in these plexiglass booths and provocatively took showers.
Mark Weiss is commissioned to shoot a photograph featuring a skimpily dressed woman taking a shower for the "Slippery When Wet" album cover.
They told me to go back to Jersey and let's find a location and let's do a car wash scene. And we wanted a girl with big breasts to be like dead center.
Mark is also asked to shoot a band photo for the back of the album.
And it was like literally like right over there where we did the shoot, and that was the shot that worked. You know, they wanted it to be a natural shot, not too posy in the studio.
The album's artwork is prepared and ready to go. But just a few hours before it's due to be printed, the band's management has a change of heart.
The label and the management were becoming aware of this young female audience, and they're like, we can't do this.
Bon Jovi's Make or Break album is now without a cover, and its release hangs in the balance. But at the 11th hour, John comes up with a solution.
That was when John got a garbage bag, he sprayed it with water, and he just wrote "Slippery When Wet."
When John came in with the idea, I thought it was silly. I just didn't think anything of it. Sure enough, the idea with the hefty bag just got as much as attention just because it was so simple.
August 18th, 1986. Slippery When Wet is released. John's calculated move to bring in a top songwriter, combined with his last-minute design of the album cover, pays off. The album shoots up to the top of the Billboard chart, making it the band's first #1 album.
Bon Jovi, they were all in a room in a Holiday Inn, which is probably not the most swanky hotel. They're not staying at the Ritz. The band found out that "Slippery When Wet" gone platinum. It was a big deal. They had this big moment of champagne and group hug.
It's one of those albums you can put it on in the beginning, you want to listen to it and flip it over and listen to the other side, and then start it again.
You listen to "Slippery When Wet," that was Bon Jovi going out on the town. They're making music, they're partying, they're hanging out with beautiful women. That just seeped into the grooves. They captured that. They had to work hard for it, and they also played hard. It really was the classic American work hard, play hard.
The first single released from the album is You Give Love a Bad Name.
The killer thing about You Give Love a Bad Name is that there's two choruses. When you have two choruses, it's a winner, especially if it lead up from the verse to the chorus to another chorus that takes you another level. When I heard that, I just knew that this was a song that's going to be an anthem for decades afterwards.
More success follows when the second single, another show-stopping anthem, Living on a Prayer, also hits #1.
It sounds kind of metalish, but it's not metal. But then it's more poppy because it's got bigger keyboard sounds, and it's got these big sing-along chords. It's something that people can really sing along to in an arena. It is a working class anthem, and it's like Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. There are anthems of hope.
They've become the first hard rock band to have 2 consecutive U.S. #1 hit singles, You Give Love a Bad Name and Living on a Prayer.
John came from working class, halfway there, living on a prayer. Those songs, they spoke to that bass, and the bass grew. And then you get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Being a songwriter, it's the closest thing to immortality that we're ever going to see.
Finally, Bon Jovi Inc. has succeeded in its public offering.
The band were flourishing at that point. It's like he's seen the light, you know, everything came together.
Every kid sits in his mirror at one point in his bedroom and strums the tennis racket and the broomstick and wants to make a record. You know, 1 in 1,000 get to be in a band, 1 in that 1,000 make a record, and 1 in that 1,000 are still here to talk about it. So the odds were really set against it. It's wonderful.
The CEO of Bon Jovi is now an international rock star, just like he always wanted. His work ethic and understanding of the music business is paying off. He's now a millionaire, but all that glitters is not gold. The reality of success means Jon is working harder and harder, pushing himself more and more. Corporate burnout has the potential to overwhelm him.